on Facebook. Make sure we're there. There we are. Okay. James Campbell, here we go.
You are at the net. And welcome, friends, to another episode of the At the Net podcast, powered by Tex-Mex Productions. Working the soundboards in the back of the house are our producers, D-Mac and Dave the Brain. Time to say hello to your hosts, Craig Bell and AJ Shabria, as they're about to take us through 3 sets of tennis, talking life and all the news as it seems to them. Ladies and gentlemen, Craig Bell.
All right. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year. Man, this is great, isn't it? Thanks to our At the Net podcast girl. That would be the great Margot Carter with that, let's see, Fantastica, right? Fantastica? Is that right, AJ? Fantastica. And there we go. We got to get the right enunciation. See, that's it. And welcome, fans of the great game. You are listening to Season 1, Episode 72, AJC.
72, awesome.
Yes, of At the Net Podcast.
Congrats, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vasiliy.
Of At the Net Podcast, that would be with AJ Chabria, right?
That's me. Thank you.
Are you sure that's you?
Craig Bell, our co-host and producer tonight, really.
Yes, and we're talking the great game of tennis as it seems to us. Thanks also go out to our good amigos at Tex-Mex Productions. That would be Darian D. Mac McBrayer, and especially Dave the Brain DeLeo from Maryland, from Baltimore, Maryland. He's here. And
a lot of times you say back of the house, but back of the house is now 2,000 miles away, man.
It is, and he was helping us. He was on for a little bit, and he just jumped off. But he helped us move the dials and buttons to make us sound like real people tonight, right? We're real people, aren't we?
We sure are, and we're so excited about tonight's show, episode 72.
Yes, that's correct. Also, be sure to check out our good work on Fireside, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Breaker, CastBox, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Pocket, that's a good word, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Spotify, and YouTube. We're on YouTube tonight, and actually, I think Twitching. We're Twitching tonight. We're Twitching, sorry. I had to twitch there. In addition to Facebook Live. Basically, that's all the important communication sites the kids find popular today. Isn't that right, AJ? Do they find them popular?
You bet. Proud to be on them.
Yep. And if you're a female and would like to read the opening intro like the great Margot Carter, we're always looking for new female voices, even in a foreign language. Right, AJ?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be the King's or the Queen's English. It can be a cool accent, too. We've had some Czechs, Germans, Russians, a South African. I think we'll have a good time with this one.
Yep. But so just let us know. We're always looking for some new talent, even though Margot Carter has been a mainstay for a number of episodes, right?
For some reason, she's everybody's favorite. I wonder why.
Yeah, very nice accent. So, speaking of Fantastica, we have one of the Fantastica guests. That would be Vasiliy Guryanov. How you doing, Vasiliy?
Yeah, I'm doing great, guys. It's it's a real pleasure to hear your voices on my laptop. Can't believe this day is here. So
yes,
thank you so much.
So cool.
I appreciate it. Looking forward to having a great conversation with you guys about tennis.
We're looking forward to it too.
Vasiliy.
Yeah, so thank you. Yeah, we're really excited to have you on. We've been working on this for a couple of weeks now. You were born and raised in Uzbekistan, right? Tashkent.
Yep.
We're around the Tashkent.
Yep.
Were you born in Tashkent? Was that your?
Yep, I was born in Tashkent.
Yeah.
Yep, that was part of the Soviet Union at that point.
That's right.
Yeah, you were born before the revolution. Is that right?
Yep, I was born before Soviet Union broke apart. Yeah, so I still remember growing up and what it was like when everything was changing. So that was unreal times.
And then
wow, and everything was changing when about 89, 90?
Yeah, about 89, 90. So I was born in 83, so I was about 6, 7 years old when it was happening. So, I still remember, everything that was going on with the money changing and the economy changing, inflation, and, how my grandparents reacted to it, how my parents reacted to it. So, yeah, it was unbelievable experience to go through that time.
And what a culture of architecture and art, too. Tashkent is one of those, as far as I know, one of those ancient cities on the Silk Route between China and Europe, right? How much of that did you get to see?
Yeah, I got to see a lot of it. And also other great cities like Samarkand, Bukhara. And like you said, it's not only a culture of architecture, but food. and just the whole culture there, the respect that people have for each other, for food, for earth, and like even going through a subway station, it's all a work of art. So it's a whole different place,
Amazing. And
it's different, So
I'm sure. And you have so many cultures there too. Of course, people who've been there for 2,000, 3,000 years, but also many Russians, right?
Yep, exactly. That's how my family moved to Uzbekistan, Tashkent, and during World War II, when my grandparents got moved there during the war. So,
yeah. Well, we've got a couple.
Is Guryanov is this a common name in back in Russia or in Uzbekistan?
I can't tell you the statistics. I don't think it's super common.
Well, we've got.
My grandparents moved during World War II, so.
Hey, I was going to tell you, we've got a couple people on right now, so we wanted to. Tim Bussell says, "Congrats, Vasiliy. Have a great show."
Okay.
Do you know Tim?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Bussell and I started working in Midtown at the same time. We started like a week apart, so he's a great guy, super professional, and yeah, we've been keeping in touch ever since. So.
Oh, that's great.
Thanks, TV. Thanks for the shout out.
Yeah, people are watching, so we have to pay attention to what's going on. So I just want to give a shout out to him.
But we can't screw around too much, right?
Yeah, that's right.
We're a good show for them.
That's right. We'll have a great show. I know that. I can see that, coming up. We've got, like I said, a few people watching right now live, and so I just wanted to shout out to those people before we kind of get going. But you also came to Chicago at one point, right? I guess did you?
Yeah.
How'd you all settle in Chicago of all places?
Yeah, that's a great question. When you're growing up in Uzbekistan and someone tells you you're going to move to Chicago, that was before internet, and you kind of start finding out, and what is Chicago is known for mafia and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we came here because we had a family plan. We had my mom; she won a green card, and so we were very fortunate to have this opportunity to come to United States, and Chicago was the place where we knew a great person who helped us start it. So it was kind of, I guess, stroke of luck, and been here ever since. So for the last 23 years.
Did you say your mom won a green card? Is that correct?
Yeah. That was back in the day when there used to be a lottery for the green card. So they played it, they won it, and the rest is history.
Wow. So the whole family, did you have brothers and sisters?
I have a younger sister, yep.
Okay, so the four of you, mom, dad, brothers, you, and sister, all came over to Chicago.
Yep.
Did you all get to choose Chicago, or did you just you just said you just had just the opportunity, huh?
Exactly, just the opportunity, yeah.
Wow, and because I know that you went to high school. Is that correct in Chicago?
Montsteuben High School in Chicago.
That's right. Yeah. So I did a little research. I was curious about your background, and so I wanted to say a few more things. You're currently the director of racket sports, I guess, at Ridgemoor Country Club at this time.
Yep.
That's
exactly.
Correct?
Yep. That's as of very recently. So.
Well, that's great. And then you also attended University of Illinois Chicago, the Flames. You were a Flame, right?
Yep. UIC, majored in economics.
Yeah, and then worked at Midtown for a period of time, Chicago tennis and golf. So you've been around the blocks. You've had a lot of great experience, right?
Yeah, a lot of different experiences. So kind of maybe took a little bit of a different road to get to where I am today than most people, but always been in the tennis industry and loved every single second of it. So
also was when you were at UIC. Was Hans Neufeld the coach there at the time?
Yes, yeah. Hans Neufeld, yeah. He's still there.
He's still there. His older brother is a friend of ours here in Dallas. He was I think 24 years, he was the head men's coach at SMU. Mm-hmm. Right here in Dallas.
Yeah. And I know the two of them kind of networked together when it came to getting recruits, so I know at one point Hans got a lot of really good recruits from Norway. He was very happy about getting those guys. They were hardworking kids, good tennis players, so, and he got a group of them. So that was around the same time that I was there. So Hans is still there.
Oh, good stuff.
Now, does Tashkent, do they have similar weather to Chicago? Because we all think in the United States that Chicago is just like, that's like cold. And Uzbekistan's got to be kind of, across the world, it's got to be kind of similar, right? So there's some cold days over there, aren't there in Tashkent?
Yeah, actually, this year they got snow before we got snow. So, yeah, it's different weather because it's drier, So during the summer it gets really hot, but it doesn't get quite as humid because we have Great Lake Michigan over here. So,
Right.
Yeah. But when it gets cold in Chicago, it's way colder and a lot more snow than Uzbekistan. So.
Right. Yeah. We've had our one day in about 5 years of snow. Finally, we don't get that much around here, so it's pretty nippy down in the Dallas area at a balmy 37 degrees tonight. As I look on my watch, I had to let the water out of our clay courts this afternoon. That was a lot of fun. My hands froze because we have some continual moisture water. Hydro courts, and we leave pretty much year round. We can play tennis on the clay courts pretty much year round. And so I had to run outside because I saw it's going to be like 28 or 32 degrees in the next couple of days. So before the pipes froze, I had to run outside.
You guys okay there? You guys have all the right clothes for this time of the year? I know that.
Yeah, right. But I figured Tashkent and Chicago, are they on about the same? They would get fairly similar weather, wouldn't they?
Very similar, yes.
Right. So you feel right at home. Does Chicago, I guess you probably just like living around there right now. No other place, right?
Yeah, no.
Pretty.
But, the humidity that's the real thing. So, my first impression of the United States, we landed in New York. And when I went outside, it was beginning of September. And it was about maybe 90 degrees, 100% humidity. We went outside, and then humidity just hit us in the face. We're like, what is going on? So, yeah, a bit more humid, a little bit colder during the winters. But when the weather is good in Chicago, we're very lucky. We enjoy it to the fullest. So, I think because of that, we kind of, we don't complain too much about the colder months. We don't complain too much about when it's really bad, because we really get to enjoy the good days.
Yeah.
No, that's great. And coming from such a dry climate to hit New York, and if it was early September of 97 or 98?
97.
97, I remember that well. That was the U.S. Open. I know that was the first of two that Pat Rafter won. And that guy sweats a ton anyway, but definitely that summer was crazy humid, and that guy was dripping like 3 shirts every set.
Yep.
I can't remember.
So that was your intro to America. That's crazy.
Yep, that was our intro to America.
I was going to say, I can't even remember 97 seconds ago. I don't know how Adrian goes back 24 years and remembers this stuff. He has this unbelievable memory.
That's why you guys make such a good team. You guys complement each other.
I am trivia, and he is our research department.
Right, yeah. But for fans tonight, we've got a couple of more people on, and I'll mention those guys here in a second.
Oh, please, yeah.
We've had a couple more comments. We're going to do 3 sets tonight. We've got kind of Vasily's background in the great game. Probably going to do second set, do some current, future projects that Vasily's up to, and then we'll have some fun in the pop culture third set. Does that sound like fun, Vasily?
That sounds fun.
Okay. Well, what got you in the great game? So let me start this off in first set. What got you started in the great game?
Yeah, that was a very memorable experience because, growing up, I did a lot of different sports. And, when you think of Uzbekistan, and you think of tennis, tennis was really the game for it was not an easy game to get into. So I never thought that I would get into the game, but, it was a spring vacation that my sister and I went to visit our uncle and aunt in Chirchik. And during that time, I was kind of going through some of the stuff, and I found a tennis racket in a closet. And I asked my uncle, can you teach me how to play? So he gave me the tennis racket. I went outside. I kind of started playing against the wall a little bit. And then I was like, hey, I'm not too bad at this game. And we were supposed to go home that Sunday, but by some stroke of luck, we stayed for an extra week. And that's when I really got into it. And, at that point, I was also doing track and field. So I was a pretty good runner. I played some soccer. But when I got tennis, I kind of thought this is something I could be good at. So because we stayed that extra week, I had a chance to play. And my uncle told me that, hey, you actually, you got some skills. So when I came back to Tashkent, I knew a couple of my friends who were playing tennis. So I joined the same club where they were going. So that's how I got the introduction into the game. And, haven't stopped since.
Yeah. Hey, Vasily, what type of racket was it, and how old were you?
Okay, so at that time, I think I was about 10 or 11 years old, and the racket was iced. Okay, so that's a Russian name. It was an aluminum racket, nothing special, but you could hit the ball. So I played with that racket for a little bit, and then my uncle bought me a better racket. It was an Adidas. I think it was called ATP 90. I still have it actually, but so it was Ice. That was my first racket.
Ice.
And it's funny. You were 10, so this was in like roughly 1993.
Yep.
And by 93, most people had a graphite racket or a junior, maybe a metal racket for little kids. But yours was an adult racket and it was metal. And it's funny, Craig Bell famously absolutely crushed the ball when he played 10 years before you started. He was playing in college with a metal racket. Is that right, CV?
Yeah, that's right. I'm sitting here trying to look up Ice tennis racket.
I don't think you're going to find it.
Okay, so I guess not. I guess I won't look for that. I was very intrigued by that. Yes, I was using a metal racket. Actually, back in 1984, there was a racket from Rayco Sports out of San Diego. One of our teammates was from San Diego, and he brought these big rackets back that were kind of oversized, not like a Prince. They were a little bit stronger than the Prince aluminum. They were more of a metal, and they were kind of teardrop shape, and I really liked those. They had a big sweet spot, so I started using those. I gave up a Wilson sponsorship to play with Rayco. No names.
Craig, I've always loved that story, but unfortunately it didn't age well. Rayco is not huge now.
No, it's not. It's like Ice.
It is.
It's like Ice. They're not.
Yeah.
They're one and the same. They maybe were the same owners. They kind of went down the same path. And I do have a Facebook picture with those rackets. And like I said, there's no markings on them. They had a plastic throat piece, and they were just basically tubular metal all the way around.
Yeah, that's basically what my racket was like too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was 1984. So somewhere in that. So did you ever run into Dennis Istomin? Did you ever run into Dennis? Because I know he's from Uzbek.
I wish I did. No. Back then we had a different player. Our best player at the time was Oleg Ogorodov. And it was kind of interesting because he had some relatives who lived in the same town where my uncle was living. So they lived, I think, in a house next door. But never got, I got to see him play live a couple of times, but never got to meet him. So it was Oleg Ogorodov. He was the first high-ranked player from Uzbekistan.
Yeah, in English we would say Eugene Koryolev, but you just taught us how to really pronounce it. Evgeny Goryolev, right?
Oleg Ogorodov.
Oleg Ogodorov. Yeah. That's how you pronounce it.
Oleg Ogorodov. Yes.
Ogorodov.
Oh, yeah, here he is. I see him right here.
Oleg.
Yes.
I know that name. Yeah.
Oleg, there he is right there.
There's his name too.
Yes. Oleg right there. Yes.
Yeah.
I like to look up stuff as we're going along, just because I'm like I don't remember him. I remember Dennis Istomin, but not. I'm sure you don't remember Oleg, AJ. You didn't.
I do.
You really?
He was top 100 in about 95, and I definitely remember that name. It's hard. It's so awesome to hear a guy who really can pronounce it, though. Thank you.
Yeah. Incredible that you remember him.
Oh, I definitely remember that guy. Yeah, he. I remember he was. I think he was in the draw at the San Jose Open in mid-90s, like 94, 95. And I was a dork who read Tennis Week every week all the time before the internet was in everybody's home.
Yeah. He played the Olympics in 96 in Atlanta. So were you around Atlanta at that time, AJ?
I had left Atlanta in, I think it was 91, 92, and I went to grad school in California. But that Olympics was in 96. So, yeah, That guy was obviously good enough to represent his country. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, he played in the Olympics right there. But, yeah, that's interesting. I don't remember him. AJ remembers everybody. I'm telling you, Vasiliy.
I also kind of pronounced his name like it was Irish or something, like it was O apostrophe, like Godorov. Oh, he's probably from the Godorov family. I don't know. But
he's from Dublin. He's from Dublin, Ireland. Right there. So when you came over to the U.S., did you continue, I guess, playing tennis at Midtown, or where did you, when you transferred, when you all won the lottery and came over, what kept you going in tennis? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so when we came here, obviously I wanted to get into tennis, but it wasn't our top priority at the time, It's not like, we come here in the first week, I tell my parents to go and find a tennis club. So it took a little bit of time to find a place. So, I didn't play the game for maybe 9 months to a year. But I was actually really lucky that when I went to high school, I went to one student high school, and my assistant coach, he got me connected with Scotty Soloway, who is he was a coach at the time, and he still is at McFetridge Sports Center. So, Midtown was a bit out of our league. I competed against kids from Midtown, but at the time I was playing at McFetridge Sports Center.
Yeah. And then after that, did you go on and play tennis at UIC? Did you play at Illinois Chicago for the Flames?
So I tried out for the team, and at the same time I had an offer for a full-time job, and I accepted that position at Chicago Tennis and Golf.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, I think it would have taken some work for me at the time to play for UIC. So at that point in my life, I made a decision to start working full time. So,
yeah, probably smart. Yeah, so. Doesn't matter. Yeah, we all get here at.
Hey, so you worked full time and studied economics.
Yep, exactly.
Not easy. Not an easy week, huh?
Nope.
Yeah. Then we've got a couple of people. I'll shout out to. Is it Tudor? Did you know Tudor? Tudor?
Tudor Ankas.
Yes.
They're really good friends.
Yep. And our buddy Joey V is online right now saying, shout out to you, Joe Vita. He wants to talk about some things we'll get to. And then Ivana Ateljevic. I'm not.
Yep. She is the mom of one of my students, okay. Marco.
Oh, cool.
Great, yeah.
How do you spell it, AJC? She says, how do you spell it, AJC? So right. So we do have some people watching. Thanks for everybody that's online. Please sure to share, and we want to thank you all for being with us this evening in our first episode of season 1, episode 72 of the 2021 New Year. Right. So we've got a great guest.
I love how CV still calls it season 1.
Season 1, yeah, still season 1. I don't know when season 2 is still going to start, but we haven't decided that yet.
It's a year and a half old, and we're still saying season 1. I love it. Well, it will be old and gray. I mean, I guess I'm already gray, but it will be season 1 for many years, pal.
Yeah, we just don't want to get canceled. See, that's the only thing. If you get to season 2 and season 3, that's when usually shows get canceled. So if we just have season 1 just never end, we can never be canceled that way.
We are not afraid of cancel culture. Bring it on, people.
Right. So what'd you do at Chicago Tennis and Golf? I'm interested to hear what you were doing at Chicago Tennis and Golf.
Yeah, full time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I started working in Chicago Tennis and Golf when I was 15 years old. That was my second job. So I was working in the tennis department, and I was helping people out with tennis equipment. So tennis rackets, strings, shoes, anything had to do with that part of it. So, and when I graduated high school, the manager there at the time, Ivan Rojas, who actually now refs for Yonex in Miami, he decided to leave the cold weather in Chicago, move to Florida, and his position opened up. So Corinne Pinsoff, she was the owner of Chicago Tennis and Golf. She decided to give me a chance and hire me as the manager of the tennis department at the time.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah, so, I was always, a racket geek. Growing up in Uzbekistan, we didn't have much. I still remember going to tournaments there, and, you would see a kid with a Wilson tennis bag with 4 rackets in there, all stenciled up, and, that was something that was amazing, So when I started working in Chicago Tennis and Golf, we had this huge wall of rackets. It was hundreds, maybe even 1,000 rackets on the wall, So that's something that kind of really fascinated me, So I always liked the equipment part. So I was like a kid in the candy store when I got that position.
Did you start stringing rackets there? How did you get into stringing rackets? Because we know you're a USRSA master racket technician like AJ and I. So what got you into stringing, too? Was it there at Chicago Tennis and Golf?
Yep. That's where I started. Our stringer at the time, Ansel Bazara, he decided to teach me how to string. So my first racket was a DB26.
Prince, yeah.
Prince synthetic gut.
Yep.
And I used Neo 1000 to string it. So that was my first experience. So it was just, I think it's a cool skill to learn, especially at the time, because, if you can string your own rackets and not pay someone else for it, I was all up for it, and I just wanted to pick it up. So that's how I got started with it.
So did you at that time also too start really stringing full time, or did you just want to learn it and be inquisitive? Because we know that, like I said, you've we'll get into some other things about stringing, because you've done some really a lot of stringing for tournaments and great events. What really got you to that point of being the technical side? As being an economics major, obviously you're very smart, but what really piqued your curiosity about, stringing rackets and being technical?
Well, really getting into the stringing part, that took a few years. But before that, I always liked to tinker with rackets. So, cutting them down, maybe adding some weights, messing around, changing the specs. Something I always like to do, changing the paint job, just to make the rackets a little bit more unique, or, doing something to a racket that would improve its performance and obviously help the players play better. That's something that I always like doing. And, when I was the manager at CTG, I had to, I had a huge budget where, a couple of times a year, the reps would come in, they show the new product, and we had to really go through it and pick out the rackets that we thought would sell the best. So I think at that point, I knew every single number about every single racket. I could tell you the cross-section of the pure drive. I could tell you the stiffness rating, just all those little things, when you have a lot of time in your hands and you're passionate about something, you take it to the next level. So I think it was just naturally from being around that part of the business, I kind of picked it up and just learned a lot of it. On the stringing side, so when I left Chicago Tennis and Golf and I got a position in Midtown in the pro shop, that was a big part of my responsibility. Stringing was kind of a part of my payment package. And at the same time, that was about 2008. In 2007, Tim Strawn from Grand Slam Stringing Symposium, he started the symposium that I heard so many really good things about. And so in 2008, I had an opportunity to actually travel down to, I think it was
Florida, right?
Orlando at the time. So travel down to Orlando, and I was really looking forward to learning more about the business side. Spending some time with the masters of the craft. And the first night I got there, they had a speed stringing contest. And I wasn't, I strung rackets. I never tried to be the fastest stringer, but I decided to enter the speed stringing contest there in 2008 at the Grand Slam Stringing Symposium. Like, I kind of got talked into it too, and then I ended up winning it.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a really cool experience. You're in this room full of people, and there's two stringing machines in the middle, and you're facing away, trying to string the racket as fast as you can without messing it up. So I won that, and one of the people who was there was Ron Rocky from Wilson. And
Rocky, yeah.
Yeah, he's one of my great mentors, and I was really, really fortunate to spend some time with him. And him being in charge of the Wilson Tour stringing team, he kind of gave me a second chance. He took a look at my stringing, and him and Grant Morgan kind of thought that I could be a good prospect to join the Wilson Tour stringing team. So that's where I got my start, real start in the stringing side.
Vasiliy, Craig is a master racket technician. I actually was the tester who certified him, and we're both pretty quick, but was it an easy racket, and did you get, under 12 minutes, 10 minutes?
Okay, so during the speed stringing contest?
Yeah.
It was not an easy racket.
No.
Wasn't like a 2000 or something, was it?
I think if I remember, it was a Prince 1820.
Oh.
The polyester. It was a Prince XO3 Rebel.
Oh, I remember those, yeah.
The Prince polyester string. So I think I did it in under 14 minutes.
That's amazing. When I've done something under 12, 13, 14 minutes, it's been a Prince with 14 mains and something really easy like synthetic gut or something or very thin string. That is awesome. Your fingers are good, man.
So, question, are you a puller or a pusher? I always want to know.
I can do both, but I push.
You push? Interesting.
Yeah, I push, yeah. I mean, for the most part, I push. There's some parts of the racket where you have to pull. more efficient. But for the most part, I push.
Because I'm a puller. Aren't you a puller, AJ?
I'm a push usually, but
Really?
like Vasiliy said, I think Marco said the same, that he generally pushes, but sometimes you got to pull like gut at the end,
right.
at those bottom 2 or 3. Sometimes you got to do it Craig's way and pull. Yeah.
Right. That's interesting because most of the people I teach my kids around the shop to string, and I said, you either got to be a pusher or puller. I bet you probably 8 out of 10 are pullers like myself. But I mean, I push a little bit every now and then. So those of you who are listening, if you're not, sorry about that. We're getting a little technical on this. I push every once in a while, but it's amazing that you're a pusher. And I mean, I can go fast, I can push, but I have my propensity is puller. So, but interesting.
Well,
14.
That's it's a fun question, and Craig, we'll get to the rock and roll segment and. The times that I'm a pusher is that Steppenwolf song. I'm your pusher.
Right. Yes, that's an oldie.
Yeah, that's a good one though.
Oldie, but goodie. But so you were doing a lot of work, I guess, at Chicago Tennis and Golf at the same time you were going to college. I mean, how'd you keep that going? You were economics guy too, so that's not an easy major to be involved with, and at the same time probably working. Were you working 40 hours a week at CTG?
Yep. I was working about 40 hours a week. It was tough to find a balance. So at one point, I decided to enter the professional world. So I left college after 2 years, and then I pursued my tennis career full time and never looked back.
Yeah. Now that's then. Did you move on after Chicago Tennis and Golf? Was there any time that you worked at Midtown simultaneously as CTG, or did you just quit CTG?
No, I basically what happened was Chicago Tennis and Golf closed down, and it was around the same time that I interviewed at Midtown. So it was a seamless transition. Corinne, who was running the store for many years, she decided to leave the business. So things were getting a little tough at that point. That was around the same time that Goldsmith came about, and Tennis Warehouse became a prominent seller online. So being in that business was kind of tough, so she decided that, she wanted to close the store. And that was about the same time that, I started working in Midtown.
Right. Yeah, and that's not a small facility either. She went from a large Chicago Tennis and Golf. How many stores did you have? Were there 2 stores for CTG or 3?
There was 1 store.
Okay, just one.
The original store, it was about 13,000 square feet.
So it's a big store. Yeah, I remember that.
It was a big store with a tennis court inside. We had a small hitting lane where people can try rackets right there. We had a golf simulator and just a huge floor. So it was a pretty big tennis store.
Wow, 13,000 square feet.
Only one. One and only.
Because, I mean, tennis court behind me, that's, 60 by 120, so that's 7,200 square feet. So it's like the 2 courts, behind here are about 14,000, 400 square feet. So it's about the size of 2 tennis courts, basically, was the footprint of your Chicago Tennis and Golf.
That was huge, yeah. Huge place.
And that was downtown, right? Wasn't that in the downtown area?
Yeah, it was close to Lincoln Park. Mm-hmm. So it was about 10 minutes away from downtown.
Wow, man.
So that's a great location. It was easy to get to. At one point, it was right next to Midtown. Mm-hmm. You could, walk 1 block and you were right there. And then because they were rerouting some of the roads, we had to move the store. So we moved it about 7 minutes away from there, but it was still pretty close. So
wow, man, that's a lot of square footage. I can't imagine what the lease space was, unless she I don't think she probably owned the building that you all were in. Probably there was a lease on that, but that had to be a healthy lease every month, I think, to knock out. You had to knock a few rackets out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, wow, that's very interesting. So working at Midtown, man, let's shift gears to that. Tell us about working at Midtown, man. That had to be an experience, right?
Oh man, I got to tell you, Midtown is a great place. I mean, you guys asked me to send you some of the pictures for the podcast, and I started looking through the years, and a lot of great experiences, a lot of great people. It was so many good memories from there. So when I started working there, I started working in the pro shop, and as a part of my package, I taught about 10 hours on court. So that was my kind of introduction to it. And after about 4 years of being in the pro shop and kind of balancing my hours, my time on court started to increase, and I started to improve my coaching and developing more of a love for it. That's when I had the opportunity to head the junior competitive program. So kind of working in Midtown, it was a great place that if you had the right mindset, if you had the right attitude, and I think it's all about your work ethic too. If you were willing to put in the hours, and for me, it was always about learning and trying to get better and trying to learn as much as I can from every single person that I work with. When our general manager Michael Mahoney saw that in me, he trusted me with the next opportunity. So I really had a chance to grow and get a lot of different experiences there and to see the industry from many different points of view.
Yes,
that's awesome. Yeah. The people at home probably do know that's one of those clubs that everybody west and east and obviously in the Midwest, they know about it. And there are many locations that has spun off, but that was the original. And I remember it wasn't quite as glamorous, but it was big when I was a junior in the mid 80s. And I didn't grow up in Chicago, but I played one very, very big indoor event there. And I remember it was in the winter, and I remember there was some outdoor space or a parking lot between those indoor courts and those indoor courts. Now, I'm sure that's still there, but it's so slick and so amazing. And I was there maybe a year and a half ago. I still have some sunglasses I bought in your shop by Le Specs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, isn't it Le Specs? Is some British company with a French flag that you guys were selling? Yeah, and I was just really impressed with how it had come along and how it had evolved. Some of the things that you did there, I want to ask about. Going from shop to on the court, did you have the budget and did you feel the freedom that you had at CTG at Midtown?
Well, I didn't have the budget.
I see.
I didn't have the budget, yeah. When, I remember my first experience of learning that part of the business. And when I got overexcited, and one of the months, that was during my first couple of years of being the manager, we had our best month by far in the history of the company. And the next month, I went a little bit overboard with purchasing. And Corinne had to sit down with me and we had a conversation about it, It was a pretty large budget because basically, the way that we bought Chicago Tennis and Golf is you pretty much bought the entire line of rackets and you bought in pretty large quantities. Whereas in the Midtown, because, just the nature, it's a smaller pro shop, you don't have as many destination buyers coming over, so you have to be a lot more selective with the rackets that you purchased.
I see.
Linda Reese, she was the manager of the pro shop at the time. She did all the buying, but she relied on myself and Dave Perez, for advice in terms of which rackets we thought would be the best ones. And obviously, in the club setting, the pros are the ones who are driving the sales. So if pros believe into product, you have to bring that product in. So it was more of a team effort, I would say, when it came to actually making the buying at Midtown versus Chicago Tennis and Golf.
And back at Chicago Tennis and Golf, a huge store like that, what did you get slapped on the wrist about overbuying? Was it rackets or clothes or shoes?
No, it was rackets.
It was rackets.
It was rackets, yeah.
So this just in from one of our people that Vasiliy should know really well. Someone of interest said that Vasiliy loves tennis so much he named his dog Rafa. What do you think about that, Rafa? Rafa, what do you think about that?
They're giving him...
Vasiliy, no, it's an honor to be in your house eating your food, no? I very much enjoy being in Vasiliy's house, and let's see the dog.
There's Rafa. Hi, Rafa. All right.
Yeah. I know a lot of people ask why we named him Rafa and not Roger, because I'm a big-time Roger fan.
Yeah.
But the first time I asked him to give me a paw, he gave me his left paw. So I have to go for the lefty.
There we go, Rafa. Right, Rafa?
Man, that's one of the most adorable moments we've had on the show. That was awesome.
Yes, thanks to your wife for sharing that moment with us, because I couldn't pass that up. I'm actually watching when I've been down. A lot of times I'm doing some stuff online with Facebook at the same time, so I'm listening to you and I'm actually reading comments because I've got some other comments that we'll get to here in a minute. But I couldn't pass that one up. That was just too good at the moment to share. And what was Was he a terrier? Was Rafa a terrier of some sort?
Yeah, he's a miniature schnauzer.
Miniature schnauzer. Yeah. Well, is he not around? Is Rafa in another room, or is he?
If he was here, you guys would hear him.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he's in a different room.
Do you have Uncle Tony? Does Uncle Tony go with Rafa? Is there an Uncle Tony?
There's no Uncle Tony. No.
Okay. Well, you're going to have to get a Roger now.
I'm doing the Uncle Tony's job of coaching Rafa. We work in agility and all ball recognition skills, like all the kind of good stuff.
Well, you might have to get Andy Murray too. We need Andy Murray to have a companion with Rafa, right, Andy?
Yeah, it's great. I'd love to practice with your little black. He looks like a Scottish Terrier, but I realize he's German. Yeah.
Oh man, sorry we diverted there. I just couldn't pass up that moment there. But getting back to your days at Midtown, how many? I mean, those who don't know, that is one of the largest facilities, I think, indoors. Is that correct, in the U.S.? How many courts do you have? How many pros work there? How many members do you have? I mean, it's just a ridiculously large place, right?
It's an incredible place. If you go there, and you're going to see how this place operates as something else, because so now we have 16 indoor courts. We have 4. Well, I'm saying Midtown has. Still feel like I'm a part of it, but so it's 16 indoor courts, 4 outdoor paddle courts. There's a hotel with 50 rooms. There's a restaurant. There's 3 floors of gym space. I think right now it's about 500,000 square foot.
500,000. And I saw golf bays for the amazing.
Yep. There's 2.
Yeah, I hit golf balls, and there was a boxing studio, wasn't there, or yoga room or something?
Yep. So just a little bit of a background for those who don't know. Midtown was opened in 1970, and by the Schwartz family, Alan Schwartz. And many know him in tennis. He was president.
USTA president.
Yeah, he was on the board of ITF. And he's done so much for the game, and a great man. He loves to support the people who work for him. So I was very fortunate, to meet him and to work for him. So him and his dad opened the club in 1970. And I think about 3 years ago, the club went through a huge renovation. It was about an $80 million project. And it was in part due to reconstruction of the streets that the city was going through, because the intersection where the club was located was one of the worst intersections in the United States, actually, believe it or not. So they spent some time, they unworked the intersection. And as a part of it, due to eminent domain, they took away part of the small building. So we ended up losing 1 tennis court. So at that time, Midtown had 18 indoor courts. And, as the construction went forward with the road projects, Steven Schwartz, who was Alan's son, he decided to take the company forward. And it was a huge $80 million project that took a tennis club and transformed it into a world-class resort. I mean, AJ, you were there, and like you're saying, it's just the touches there are just unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
So much attention to detail, and one of the things that Midtown does so well is they really look after the facilities. So it's probably the cleanest club you'll ever see in the world. The maintenance staff works tirelessly, and so I was very proud to work with them as well.
Yeah,
CB is a huge fan of Buc-ee's, and
yes.
Craig, I can attest. Buc-ee's has the cleanest restrooms of all time. Midtown Athletic Club
is right there with it.
That level, everything.
Yeah, that's a Texas a big rest stop, basically, is what it is.
Yeah.
It's a convenience store with a bunch of gas stations and the cleanest bathrooms known to mankind. That's kind of
it's like a resort.
Yeah, it is
sort of like what Midtown has become.
A resort for your rear
At
ends.
the same time, on the tennis side, you have 16 indoor courts, and the programs are just pumping. There's someone on courts all day long. I mean, you come there, and it doesn't matter what time of the day, the chances are all the courts are going to be booked. So there's about, I think, anywhere from 30 to 35 full-time tennis coaches on staff. There's a pedal director. There's a junior development program, high-performance program, cardio tennis program, adult instructional. So many different things going on that the club is always busy. So we had huge numbers, between the competitive program and the junior development program. We had about 700 weekly participants.
700.
And then, on top of that, you had, on the cardio tennis side, I think they were getting over 12,000 participations per year. So over 1,000 per month. And I think that number has grown, but it's a very, very busy place. And I know there are not too many tennis clubs that are the same way.
No, not
Vasiliy, I know business travelers sometimes book a room at Midtown Athletic Club. They may not even be tennis players, but they do it for the golf, kickboxing, whatever. And the high performance junior program is what we want to ask you a little bit about. That is no joke. I mean, there are world-class players who come out of there. I know a future guest on our show, Evan King, has been there for some tennis. Tell us a little bit about what are some of the things that you did or your group did at Midtown to set itself apart and make it that world-class a level.
Yeah, Evan. I remember Evan when he was a young kid. We used to play in the same place. Donald Young also.
Oh yeah, another left-hander like your dog.
Yep. Laura Granville was another player.
Granville. She played at Stanford and then on the WTA tour too.
Yeah, and then she got to somewhere. I think her highest ranking was around 30 in the world. So she did pretty well. She actually, when she was coming back, and she had some injuries towards the end of her career. When she was coming back, she still continued to train in Midtown. But yeah, I mean, it's a great place. I think that one of the reasons why it does so well is our GM Michael Mahoney. He loves tennis. He plays tennis every single day, and I think he prides himself on supporting a really high level program. So as a part of it, he hired Tom Gullickson to be a special consultant for the club. So I was really lucky to work with Golly for the last, I think, 4 or 5 years. So I think the reason why the club has done so well is, outside of its location and the number of courts, but I think it's just the pursuit of really good coaching. Joey Salerno, he was the coach there when Evan was there, and he's still coaching there. So I think it's, the total dedication and the resources that they allocate towards that program.
When I have, first of all, Joey, I've known since you came from Uzbekistan. I think it was 97, September or October. So I've known him since that summer, and we worked together for many years. Evan's face still lights up when the 2 or 3 times I've met him here in Dallas. When he or I mentioned Joey Salerno, his face totally lights up, and Midtown in general. Hey, you mentioned Mahoney, the GM. What about Butch Staples and he's a very famous, what was his position there? Was it one of the executive board guys or a general manager?
So Butch Staples, he was a head pro at the time when
I
started working there. So he actually hired me to work in the tennis, on the coaching side.
I see.
So what Butch is doing now, he is the national director of tennis for Midtown.
Nice. National.
So he oversees all the clubs, and we have clubs. We have 4 clubs. Midtown has 4 clubs in Chicagoland area. There's a club in Florida, in Western Florida. There's one in Rochester.
In Rochester, Western New York, yeah.
Yep. So he oversees the programs in all those places.
I see Butch as, and Craig knows him too, as a very forward-thinking guy who is an early adopter of things like technology. You mentioned you didn't quite have the budget at Midtown that you did at Chicago Tennis and Golf, but tell us about some of the technological things that you guys use in coaching. For example, video, iPads, apps like Tennis Locker. Can you tell us to sort of walk us through what changed when Butch learned more and implemented more?
Number one, Butch, he is the kind of person that you can never say no to, because his work ethic and, his whole lead by example approach to leading the tennis department, it seemed like he was at the club all the time, so if Butch asked you to do anything, you always said yes, and you were happy to do it for him. And he was one of the first coaches to really get into 10 and under coaching. That was a big passion of his. And later on, when I came into the when I was overseeing the competitive program, a lot of the kids that he got started and got off to a good start, they stayed through the program and they went on to play college tennis. So with Butch around, he I think he was a great leader for all of us, and he showed us what a real work ethic is like, and he did it with a smile on his face and still does. Now you mentioned the budget. Now the pro shop budget versus the tennis budget were two different things.
Whole different.
Okay, because Midtown does something really cool that no other club does, like they resurfacing the tennis courts once a year. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, and on the technology side, I think at the most we had 6 play side courts. So that was the big piece of technology that that was used at the club. So I know that's not a small investment by any means. But yeah, obviously, everything else, the tennis locker, I think we tried integrating tennis locker, but for some reason it didn't work out. But the play side was the big technology that was used there.
Interesting stuff. Well, CB, Vasiliy has done a fantastic first set on background. Let's see if we can channel all this knowledge and goodness into set number 2.
That's correct.
CB, who is our sponsor for our second set tonight?
That would be right above my head and Vasily's. That would be the Master Systems, the great Blair Descaret. If anybody needs court resurfacing, like what Blair would probably be glad to do Midtown up in Chicago, but I don't think he drives that far. So I think he's got plenty of work around this area. But if you need court accessories, on court, off court, that kind of stuff, or resurfacing, pickleball, whatever, our good friend with Master Systems, Blair Descaret, will be happy to take care of you. So before we get started in set 2, I want to ask you a quick question. It's our buddy Joey V. Wants to know Lou Malnati's or Giordano's? Giordano's? Those must be restaurants.
Malnati's or Giordano's? That's a
deep dish. Deep question.
Deep dish pizza, yep. Giordano's all the way for me.
There you go. All right, Joey V. Yeah, I know we've got a lot of people watching. So, Joey V, hopefully you're still on. So, Giandora. How do you say it? Sorry about that.
Giordano's.
Giordano's. There we go. Giordano's. There we go.
Giordano's.
Yeah, I'm from Oklahoma. We don't say that kind of stuff, But so let's roll into set 2 and kind of talk about your projects right now. Like I said, you're director of tennis at Ridgemoor Country Club. You want to tell us a little bit about Ridgemoor and all the great things that you learned at Midtown? Are you pushing those over to Ridgemoor, right?
Yeah. So with the pandemic this past year, the club shut down, and I had the opportunity to get a director of tennis position, of racket sports position at Ridgemoor. At the time when I started there, they didn't have much going on, but after a few weeks, there was some buzz that got generated, and all of a sudden, people started getting on court, and I started working with some of the younger players. And, they decided to invest more money into the facilities, and now there's 3 pickleball courts. So Ridgemoor is located on the northwest side of Chicago. It's a great golf course there. Played there a couple of times. It's pretty challenging but fun. And, on the tennis side, there's 2 tennis courts now and 3 pickleball courts. So I'm looking forward to really growing the program there. I think there's a lot of potential with the younger players, and there's a few members in the club who really enjoy the game. So that's the future project.
Yeah,
that sounds tremendous. And when you say northwest suburbs, just outside of Chicago, I think of the John Hughes movies, and I think of the Winnetka Challenger event. That's kind of near you, isn't it, Winnetka?
Yeah, that's about 25 minutes away from where I live. So AC Nielsen, that's the term you're thinking about.
Nielsen, that's it. And that's an ATP Challenger. I imagine you'll take some folks over there this summer?
Yeah, if everything runs, we go there every single summer. So
awesome.
If everything runs, we'll go there.
So cool having a Challenger event. And then in our second set, we typically get to current and future projects. Tell us a little bit about stringing at pro events, since we're talking about Winnetka, and also Laver Cup, which was there two and a half, I guess, just over 2 years ago. So I want to hear about that, because at a lot of slams, and I've strung at some tournaments too, you don't really encounter the players, or you get a certain, like, all right, I'm doing her rackets or his rackets for much of the week until she or he leaves. Tell us a little bit about your interaction with small teams like Team Europe or Team World at the Laver Cup.
Yeah, the year was 2018. It was a great year for tennis in Chicago. It was an unbelievable experience because the whole city got transformed for that time, and it all started for us with when some of the players came over to the club and they got some practice in. So my first experience, I get a phone call, and it's the organizer of the event asking me to string Djokovic's and Zverev's rackets. And then Zverev came into the club, and it was kind of cool to see him there, working out in the gym, and then Federer came over to the club, and just to see him on the courts there, and to see Nick and Jack all coming over and playing, it was a great experience. There was a lot of buzz. Obviously, all the kids were super excited. The adults were super excited, and to see Federer there was an unbelievable experience for all of us. But that tournament was so cool because it was held at the United Center. And usually if you're stringing at the Grand Slam, you got your stringing room with, all the guys. And like when I first started stringing on tour, that was about 11 years ago. At that point, a 300 racket day was a huge day. So when you had your busiest time, everyone will say, we have 300 rackets coming in. Now it's like 550.
Wow.
The numbers have really grown.
How many stringers would be stringing on 550 rackets? How many guys are working on it? Just let me.
Yeah, you have to have 18 to 20 guys stringing in order to string the many rackets. So that on your busiest day, so think like the day before the main draw, all right, the first day of play, second day of play. During those times, everyone is getting the rackets restrung. So, you're getting 500 plus rackets for several days in a row. So, but because of that, because of the size of the stringing room, usually the stringing room is located somewhere, further away from the action. Whereas at the Laver Cup, our desk with four of us was right where all the players were walking to the locker room. So every morning, Roger would be walking by saying good morning to us, Novak, and all the other great players. So it was a completely surreal experience.
Do you remember that, Nikki Kiggs? Nikki Kiggs, do you remember saying hello to Vasily?
Instead of going to my Nick impression, I do want to mention what a blast it was. My favorite images of that was when some of your colleagues at Midtown sent me photos of Nick Kyrgios in a Chicago Bulls hoodie. Yeah. That was amazing. Of course, you mentioned Zverev. Did you speak German or Russian with him, or just English?
No, we just kept it professional. We spoke English.
Okay. Yep. Okay. And one of my favorite videos was, I'm sure there was so much, but one of my favorite videos that Joey Salerno sent me was Nick with a case of just a box of Wilson balls, and he was being the coach, and he was hand feeding Jack Sock, and he was making Jack Sock run from this alley to this alley, hitting amazing, ridiculous forehands, and then he would toss one as a drop shot and make Sock run 9 steps or something, and he was so encouraging, and I realized people think of him as a jerk, but what were your impressions seeing that live?
I mean, it was incredible to see those guys there. Those are the courts where, we played for so many years, and to see players of that level come onto those courts and just to see them there, that was pretty cool. But it was one thing that stood out to me is how those guys, when they got on the court, after they hit there for about 5 or 10 minutes, they picked out all the dead spots on the court. And there's like 2 dead spots. There's two spots, the courts are immaculate, but 2 spots where maybe, the surface is slightly uneven, the ball bounces a little different. And right away, those guys picked up on those spots, and they tried to actually hit those spots.
Yeah.
Like, think about that level of awareness and the feel, to be able to feel the surface so quickly.
That
was really cool. We got to see those guys practice for many days in a row, and it was kind of cool for us with Golly, being our senior advisor and him advising us on how to, better develop our players. A lot of the drills and the skills that the top players were working on are the same skills that, juniors should be working on. So it was kind of cool to see the parallel. Those guys just do it at a faster pace. Their execution is a lot faster, but the idea is the same.
So as inspired as you were, did you bring some of the people you work with, some of the young high performance players, to watch the pros practice? Were they able to pick things up like that?
Yeah, 100%. We still talk about that.
Amazing.
So speaking of kids, Ivana says that at Midtown during the Laver Cup, Pat McEnroe had the ball kid tryout at Midtown for the Laver Cup. Do you recall that?
Yep. So it was Patrick McEnroe was leading it, and they brought a bunch of kids from Chicago, and Marco was actually one of the ball kids who got chosen, so he did really well.
That's Ivana's son.
That's Ivana's son, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, but it's kind of cool because, we outside of Laver Cup, being in Chicago, we also, Midtown hosted ITAs. So that's the top college players coming in and playing, and many other, professional events where our kids would have to get ball kid training in order to be there. So, a lot of them were pretty well prepared, and Marco is a pretty sharp kid. So he did well. And, he had a famous moment during Laver Cup. He was so committed to finishing his job that when Team Europe won it, and I think that Zverev fell on the ground, and there was a ball next to him. And all the players are storming to jump on top of him. Marco ran in. He grabbed the ball. He wanted to make sure that no one twisted an ankle. So he finished the job. So, it was pretty cool.
Love that work ethic. You mentioned an ITA tournament. One of our friends is a coach at Baylor, and I know they had Baylor, Columbia, just some of the top 10 teams. And I know the Baylor guys, at least personally, and they commented on how professionally run it was and how it's just kind of a different level. Because sometimes when you're a college player and you go to a tournament, you don't know. But they said it was on the level of some of the Oracle ITA at Indian Wells. They were very complimentary of the indoor courts. And they didn't tell me about all these dead spots, man. You must, the courts must have been perfect.
Yeah. Or maybe they just don't have, quite the feel of Nick and Jack.
Who was the prickliest and weirdest to deal with on the stringing side, and who was the most laid back and cool?
The most laid back and cool was, it was Jack and Nick.
It really was.
Those guys, they were really laid back, and they were very friendly, and I would say that in that particular group who were there, they were all pretty easygoing. I don't think that they overthink their equipment the same way as some of the lower ranked players do. I think that they trust that the people who are looking at their equipment are going to do a good job, and those guys can tell they can make some adjustments with their tension a little bit, adjusting to the ball, to the surface. They're not too picky. There was one player who was a little bit of a pain in the butt, but I'm not going to say who it was. There was but that's not a professional courtesy. I'm not gonna put him on the spot.
Yeah,
but everyone is.
I know
they're all pretty easygoing.
I know Craig asked for a Nick impression, and I'm so proud of your answer. If you'd said somebody else, I would have said, "Piss off." Next question.
We got a really good question out here from the crowd. Rick Eckloff, who's one of our loyal net heads. Favorite tournament to string? Where's your favorite tournament to string? Was it? I know you've been to Australia, haven't you? Have you been down to the Australian Open, right?
Yeah.
And strung. Have you been to the U.S. Open?
Yep, I've done 8 U.S. Opens, 4 Australians.
Wow.
Well, the favorite one was Laver Cup.
Laver Cup, okay. Yeah.
That was my favorite tournament. Yeah. Just part of the reason is just they held it at the United Center. And, we have Chicago Bulls, we have Chicago Blackhawks, and I love both of those teams. Go to a lot of the games. And just to see, to me, like the unreal moment there was when I got to see Federer play at United Center, and in the background you see all the championship flags from the Bulls and the Blackhawks. And it was a really cool moment. So, but outside of Laver Cup, you know, with the regular tournaments, it has to be Australian Open. Australian Open was a lot of fun. You know, number one is it's summer. While we're here in Chicago, January and February are really tough. You go to Australia, it's the days are long. It's really warm. Australians are
rackets a day, right? We're an average stringer. If you're in the thick of things, would you be doing about 20 rackets a day?
So if you're in that room, you can do about 30 rackets a day plus.
30, okay.
Because of the training that Ron Rocky puts everyone through, you're going to be a really proficient stringer. And for you to contribute to the team, you got to do 30 plus.
30 plus, okay. And
that's so
25. Is that 25 minutes a racket? Are they trying to get you to 20, 25, or 25 to 30? What are you trying to? You know,
yeah. Well, your goal is to do about 3 an hour, and that's pretty comfortable pace. So think like tournament stringing. It's more like running a marathon. You know, you want to pace yourself because you want to be able to do it for many days in a row.
So did you have any like special shoes? Did you use shoes? No shoes? Did you have a back brace? You know, tell us the insides of the. You know, did you have calluses on your fingers? You know, there had to be. You had to be kind of prepared for that, right?
Yeah, I remember being in my first tournament and my first Australian Open, and we had a couple of really busy days in a row. And so you're getting to the room about maybe 8 o'clock in the morning. You're staying there until about 8 o'clock in the evening. Mm-hmm. A lot of polyester strings. You're stringing 30 rackets plus. And after a couple of days of that, I just remember going into the bathroom and washing my hands. And it's just the amazing feeling, through my hands. I'm like, wow, I can't believe how tough this is, But this is, I think, a little bit of a rite of passage that, something I asked Ron Rocky, during my first tournament, during US Open, I asked him, like, I want to feel the pain, just put me through the hardest experience. I want to know what it's like. So, yeah, on the busiest day, you're doing a lot of rackets. And I think on some of our busiest days, some of the fastest guys will do 40 plus, somewhere 30, 35 to 40. So it's a pretty efficient workday.
Wow. That's incredible. And that was a great question from CB. And what it revealed about you was the willingness for the pain. And it told me everything when you went to the bathroom to wash the hands. And it felt amazing. Like you didn't complain about the pain. Or the callus or the blisters or whatever, you loved the feeling. Describe how that feeling might show up in tennis for you on the tennis court.
Yeah, I think that the reason that I was feeling that way, outside of my upbringing, is because I love being a part of a team. And when you're there, you're in the trenches and everyone is going through this tough time, there's this sense of urgency, that everyone's got a job that needs to be done, and you're really trying to help each other out. And the whole sense of camaraderie on the team, that makes it actually a lot of fun. Even though, physically maybe you're feeling some of the things, standing all day, you're wearing running shoes, some of the stringers, they'll tape up their hands, that everyone's got their own tricks. But because you're a part of the team, you feel like you're part of something special. I think that's why, it was kind of easier to get through those. And, I think that's one of the reasons why that team is so good and so consistent is that a lot of the guys want to come back, because they feel like they're a part of something bigger. And that's something that, I carried into, when it came to managing the competitive program at Midtown, that we all know that there's so many egos on tennis, right? So that kind of, you have to put that aside.
Right.
And when you're part of the team, I always told all the coaches that I work with, they're not my kids, they're our kids. Let's help all of them get better together. And so the goal is really to create the best team of coaches, with the best morale that we can have. So I think that was the element that I took from the stringing room and then brought to the on-court coaching. I think the other side is when you're in a tournament environment, you're standing there, you're stringing away, But you're seeing players, you're watching a lot of tennis, you're always around tennis, you picking up on little things here and there, like a fly on the wall, and I think it kind of gives you a different perspective on the game, and I think that it really helped me to become a better coach. When I got to see how the coaches deal with the players behind the scenes, or how the players deal with certain situations. Yeah, so I think there are a lot of different experiences that you pick away from it, but you have to look for those moments. I think
whether you're a teaching pro, a player, a parent, or a manager of teaching pros, a leader, that I want more people to hear that answer. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun to be a part of the team.
Yeah, we had another great question from one of the Facebook fans. Favorite player you've strung for? Your favorite of all the people that you've strung for? Who's your favorite player? Rafa?
Roger Federer.
Roger. Yeah, I thought Rafa might show up on there but unfortunately, AJ doesn't do it.
I love Rafa. Rafa. You have to respect Rafa for so many different ways. So it's obviously always a pleasure to string for him. And I think what a lot of players, a lot of kids, and just a lot of people can learn from Rafa is how his human side. He's the one player, he'll bring his own rackets in. He'll talk to the stringers. He'll talk to the front desk. He's always kind. When you're around him, you don't feel like you're around this great champion. You don't really get a sense of his ego. He's so down to earth, But I think that Roger being my favorite player. Love to string for Rafa whenever I have a chance. But I would say, I like to string for guys like Michael Russell. The guys who are working in the trenches. Who to them that's their livelihood. So when you're stringing the racket, you really want to do a good job for them because you know what it means to them, and you have to respect their work ethic.
Do most of the guys like to put their own grips on, or do they have you all put grips on as well in addition to string? Because some I think there's a few out there that do some unusual requests. Does Rafa like you putting your grip on, or does he like doing that?
Rafa does all his stuff. Does all. So when it comes to tournament stringing, there's basically two different teams. There's a private side, and there's going to be the tournament side. So the Wilson team strings rackets for everyone on site. So that service is available to all the players, and I would say about 95% of the players will use that service. Then you have the private side. So think of players like Roger. He's got his own stringers who are traveling with him to all the Grand Slams, the Master 1000s, Davis Cup. And so those guys, they'll string the rackets, they'll do the grips, they'll do the stenciling, while the players who are bringing the rackets to the tournament room, most of them will just get the rackets restrung. So regripping is not a part of the service.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. So that and I didn't realize there was a private side to there's a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes, it sounds like.
Yeah, there's only a couple of companies that are doing stringing on the private side. I'm sure you guys have heard of Priority One.
Sure, Priority One. That's Ron and Nate. Yeah.
Yep, Ron. So those guys, they string for Roger, for many other players.
Yep. Stan, Murray, Joker.
That service is a bit more. You have to pay for that service. But I think for once you get to a certain level, I think that those guys can afford it and they see a lot of value in it, but also a lot of players, they know that when they come to the Wilson stringing room, that's going to be as consistent of a product as you're going to get because all the machines are calibrated and all the stringers are really well trained. I mean, the amount of training that you have to go through in order to be there is tremendous.
After how many rackets do you recalibrate your machine?
Every day.
Every day?
Every day, yeah. You calibrate it in the morning, you calibrate it in the evening, you clean it once a day, so that it's at a top shape. So, and we use the same device to calibrate all the stringing machines. So every single stringing machine is going to pull the same way. So all the 20 stringing machines in the room, yeah.
So is there anybody that uses GET really anymore, or is it mostly synthetics and polyester?
Yeah, it's in my opinion, when you put natural gut on the mains and you put polyester on the crosses, I think that's probably the best combination there is out there.
Interesting.
So you think like Roger, Novak, Andy, they're all string gut on the mains, and then some sort of LU power in the crosses. Roger does LU power rough. And, what basically happens is that, gut, it locks in to the crosses. And it starts, so the cross turns into a rail, and then when the ball hits the strings will slide with the ball, and then will snap back. So because of that effect, and also natural gut being the most resilient string there is, you have an unbelievable combination of spin, feel, power. And when you watch the players who use that type of string, how they're striking the ball, they strike it differently from the players who only use polyester. It's just something about the way that the ball comes off the strings. And for some reason, a lot of the new players, they're not really going for that combination so much. Most of them tend to use polyester these days at the lower string tension, high 40s, low 50s. While you have players like Novak and Roger, they're stringing gut on the mains, that locks on the crosses at a higher tension. So they're somewhere in the high 50s, low 60s.
And when you say higher, for guys like Craig and me, we think of higher in the old days when we were playing. He's talking 70 pounds, and I was in the high 60s. He's talking 75 even. So I use gut this way at around sometimes 55, sometimes a little less, and 50 or 48 this way with the hard, thin poly. Maybe like the rough. I do enjoy that, but I use some other ones. And like you said, it is. I've been spoiled. And when I try a racket that's poly and poly, I'm like, oh, this racket's terrible. Like it's even hard to evaluate something.
Yeah, and also Venus and Serena, they also use the same combination.
They do.
They use gut on the mains and Luxlon 4G in the crosses.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's something about it. I'm really curious why a lot of the younger players are not testing the string out, because when you get to a certain level, obviously, AJ, for us, natural gut, we're spoiling ourselves a
The
little
best.
bit. And we're not getting it for free, the sponsor players do. But I think once you get to a certain level, those players do have access to that product. But I would be really curious why they're not using it as much, or not using it like that generation of players.
Do you think that players are not as educated because they don't care about their equipment as much recently, or is it just mostly lack of education, or are they just who knows? What's your thought on the new players? What you're really thinking about the new people coming up versus the people like Roger, Rafa, Murray, and those guys who are really more into it? Yeah. Do these guys don't really care, or do they? What do you think?
That's a really good question. I think maybe a part of it is, it's a little bit of generational. Where when Roger was, Roger, Novak, Andy, Cole Schreiber, all those players were coming out. They were a part of the same generation. And I think it's very natural in the game for players to copycat each other a little bit. Let me see what this player is doing, one time I've seen on court a high-ranked player taking out the scale and measuring Novak's rackets right there, trying to figure out, what Novak uses. And I think that with the newer generation, maybe it's not the in thing, because I don't think it's a side effect of lack of information, because there are many experts that are working for the racket companies who are in charge of fitting the players with the best equipment that they can have. So I think the information is there, but maybe a little bit of preference, God knows. We should ask them. That's a good question for them.
Yeah. That's your job. Are you going to Laver Cup 2021 in Boston, Massachusetts?
So great question. If I go there, I'm probably going to go there as a spectator.
I see.
Because on that particular stringing team, there's only 4 spots. And, Ron Rocky, he wants to move the players around, the stringers around, so all the members of the team have a chance to go and string there. So I think my turn was in 2018.
I'm so glad you got that turn. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
What's the lowest tension you've ever strung? Have you strung any in the low 30s? Is anybody? And then the highest, just two extremes: lowest tension ever and highest.
I'm just gonna guess Jack Sock, but let's see what the real deal is.
No, it was actually Kukushkin.
Oh,
really?
Mikhail Kukushkin. Yeah.
was the lowest tension. Yeah, he was stringing in kilos. So he was somewhere around 28 pounds.
Wow,
So that
28.
was the lowest tension, 28 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. And the highest tension that I've ever strung, that I've ever seen strung, that's a great question.
Pro Tour, just Pro Tour.
I mean, that was somewhere in the 70s. So there's still a few players. So there was the weirdest tension that I've ever seen was a player who had a difference of 15 pounds between the mains and the crosses. And I think it was Hyun Taek Lee, the Korean player.
Korean man, yeah.
Yeah. So he had a really, he had an extreme variance between the mains and the crosses.
Why do you think that was it?
Did he do this? Did it compress? First of all, this was higher and this was lower, yeah?
Yep.
Did it compress the racket at all?
Yep, he did. So maybe that's one of the reasons why he did it, is because he wanted to compress the racket and make it a little bit round. I know there's some players who really try to do that. They want to take the racket and they want to compress it a little bit.
Yeah, they could have done that with a metal racket, that's for sure. I know that. I had never thought about that about a graphite. You learn something new every day. The old dog,
funny.
Old dogs learn
Yeah,
new
also
tricks.
depends on the racket you're using,
Sure.
because some rackets are really firm. You're not gonna, even if you have a variance in tension, you're not going to see a compression. Other rackets are more more sensitive, so that they're going to respond more. So if you're doing gut on the mains and you're doing Luxon on the crosses, for instance, some rackets, even if you do the same tension from both, some rackets will still compress a little bit. So there's not the length is not going to change very much, but you're going to see a little bit of a change in the shape of the racket.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting show. Well, should we start the third set? We've been at this way longer than what we thought we would. And we
love this guy.
Oh,
it's
yes.
time for our third set, which is just a fun walk through we call it our pop culture segment. CB, what do you got for Vasiliy today?
Yes, we won't make it too long. We won't go. We can go 2 hours just in pop culture. So we won't. We have a lot of fun with our guests, and you've been great thus far. For the first two sets, we were already at an hour and 22 minutes. So that's we've been going at it for a number of minutes, and I know we're at 9:30 our time. So I wanted to make sure that we might have to have you back as a repeat guest, if that's okay.
I'll take that. Yep.
Because
we love it.
Well, because I like talking about stringing. You have a lot of interest, and that's the second set. I knew that could take the longest because we did have some people ask. I have some other questions that people have asked, but I'm going to defer maybe to the next time, and we'll get you back, and we'll ask those questions of you.
Because there's so much. I know we talk about stringing, but there's also so much on the coaching side as well.
Sure, absolutely. So
I have a lot of passion for that.
So let's get into the third set here, and we'll have you back. We'll have you back at another time in 2021, and maybe on down the road. But we'd love to have you back. But first band you saw in concert, because I know the United Center probably has some good acts coming to Chicago. So what is the very first band that Vasiliy saw in concert live?
So that was a long time ago, and I think it was Tool. Actually, that was my first concert.
In Chicago?
Not in Chicago. It was in Moline, Illinois. So we had to drive a little bit.
Yes.
And we saw Miss Sugar opened up for them, and then the Tool was the band. So
I know Moline as one of the Quad Cities, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So how far was that away? About 2 hours?
Yeah, that was a little bit of a road trip that I took with my friends a long time ago. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Did you all spend the night, or did you drive back?
No, we drove back.
Wow. Boy, howdy. After that, you got home about, 4 in the morning or something like that?
Yeah, we were young, full of energy, so I'm pretty sure we stayed up pretty late when we got back, too.
Full of vim and vigor at that point.
Yep.
So if you could hear a band in concert, what band would you like to hear? We assume that you're a music guy, and, because we all like music. basically.
Yeah, we love music for sure. I would probably want to hear Led Zeppelin live.
Really, Led Zeppelin.
Awesome.
Led Zeppelin live. Yeah.
Really, like at the United Center, or where would you like to see them?
United Center has an unbelievable sound system. So yeah, watching anyone there is you're going to get the best experience. So.
Really, because you don't think of big venues like that as having, you think a lot of reverb going on, but the United Center, they've designed it well enough. It's almost like a concert hall, then, right?
Yeah. We do a lot of concerts there.
So, who's your favorite band?
Tool.
Tool, really?
Tool. Yeah.
Why do you like Tool so much? What's the interest about them?
Well, I think right now they're known as the best rock band in the world, but. You know, when I was younger, I started listening to them and just really connected with the music, and so it's stuck ever since.
Is there any Uzbekistan music that you enjoy as well?
There's Russian music, but not Uzbek music.
No. Type of music, the genre do you like? Do you like country and western, rock, jazz, classical? Rap?
I like rock. I like rap.
Mm-hmm.
Those are. And, obviously sometimes I'll listen to Russian music as well. So still trying to, stay on top of the language. I've been here for 23 years and my friends and I, we try really hard not to forget our language. So we still, try to stay relevant with that. So rock, rap, and some of the Russian music too.
What's a favorite Russian band? Give us a Russian band that you like.
Lyubę is probably my favorite one.
Yeah, I'm sure AJ's already heard of those guys. Have you heard of those guys?
I actually haven't. I was going Rachmaninoff or Tchaikovsky,
right.
But you're talking modern, like current Russian rock bands.
Modern? I'm not really staying on top of the modern stuff. It's more about the old school stuff.
Okay.
That's cool.
So if you were in a band, let's say, and you might have been in a band, we'll get to that. Do you play an instrument or anything?
I've attempted to play an instrument. In fact, I was over at my best friend's house last night, and I tried playing a guitar, but I wasn't too gifted on that side. At one point, I think we messed around with the drums a little bit, messed around with the guitar. We had our time long time ago, but if I had to play one instrument, it would probably be the drums.
And that's what we were going to ask you. If you were in a band, what member would you be? Would you be the lead singer, lead guitarist, drummer, keyboards, or bass guitar? So if you could actually, play this instrument, would you want to be the drummer? Would you be like a Phil Collins? Would you have the microphone on, sing, and play at the same time? Or would you just?
That would be cool if I could do that. Yeah, I will take that skill.
Yeah. So who's your favorite drummer then? I'm sure that if you've thought about drumming, then there are somebody that you probably like to listen to, right?
Well, obviously the drummer from Tool.
Right.
Yep, he's my favorite one.
Is he really? Okay.
I'm impressed, but I'm also a little disappointed you didn't say Joey Salerno is your favorite drummer.
See,
Does Joey Salerno get the skins?
He
does send me his videos of him drumming out, and now his daughter is getting into it a little bit as well. So
he was in a couple of bands here in Dallas in the 90s and early 2000s. He's amazing. And, I don't think he did the headset, but he could sing and drum, and just an amazing, powerful little guy. Yeah, remarkable drummer, yeah.
So Danny Carey of Tool is your favorite drummer?
Yep.
Wow, he's old. He's an old guy like me. Jeez. Man.
Yeah, that was actually the last concert that I saw was Tool in September of last year at the United Center. And, I mean, just to see his set, the number of pieces and him working away, he's unbelievable. Yeah, I'm
looking him up there. He'll be 60 this year. So he's an old guy. So
all right.
So I think I know this. We're going to shift over. Besides music, your first paid job, would that be at Chicago Tennis and Golf?
So my first paid job was McDonald's. McDonald's
in Chicago.
In Chicago, yeah. I was 14 years old, and that was my first job that I got. So I worked there for a year.
Were you a fry guy? Were you on the fries?
I was the kid who did everything there is to do, carrying the
everything.
I did everything, yeah. They didn't trust me with the cooking part, but they trusted me with everything else. So I think that's, where I got some of my work ethic from, is just being there and, being surrounded by a lot of people who who worked really hard, and so that was my first big job.
At Mickey D.
I love it. And did they put you through Hamburger University?
They did not. No,
Not yet. Not yet.
No.
Hey,
I don't know if that was around at that point.
Okay. One of the things that I know about McDonald's is Michael Jordan, who's a fairly big name in the city of Chicago, would host business meetings at McDonald's. Is this true?
He never invited me to those meetings, so I don't know for sure. But I wouldn't be surprised if he did it. Wasn't he sponsored by McDonald's at one time?
Big sponsorship. I think it may have been late 80s, but certainly by 92, he had a big sponsorship with them. And that's when it was right around the Dream Team going to Barcelona for the Olympics and our team doing really, really well and dominating. But I remember reading that he would bring clients. He's like, look, if McDonald's is good enough for me, it's good enough for my associates. Pretty great.
He was a smart guy. He knew how to market the products that were sponsoring him.
No.
What was your favorite food at McDonald's?
What was my favorite food?
Yeah, did you like the French fries? You like the Big Mac?
Had to be,
What's that?
Okay, so I was 14 years old at that point, so it had to be a Big Mac with fries, and then a large cup full with caramel and peanuts on the bottom, ice cream, and more caramel and peanuts on top.
What was that, about 50,000 calories?
I was 14 at the time, and I was pretty active, so.
So did they give that to you free? Did you have to pay for it, or did you McDonald's employees get a free meal a day?
Yeah, I think so. I think we got some of the stuff we got for free, some of the stuff we got a discount on.
Yeah.
Well, they had the best fries. I mean, McDonald's, that's, where there's no argument in my mind that McDonald's has some of the best fries out there. I mean, that's even to this day, they're pretty awesome. First, favorite movie or TV show? What do you like to watch?
So, favorite TV show has to be Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad. Interesting.
Yeah, love that show.
Vasiliy, next time you are here, and I hope it's soon, a walk from my house, there's a pop-up that changes things all the time, and it's going to be Gus's restaurant, Pollo Hermanos. It's going to be that pop-up here for like a month or two.
Yeah.
So
that was the cool show. That show.
The best.
Yeah, I mean, there were some of those episodes where when the episode was over, you were sitting there like, did that just happen? So great writing, great acting. So I really like that. I love watching a lot of documentaries. So one of my other favorite movies is Free Solo about Alex Honnold. So I watched that quite a few times, and still every single time I watch it, my palms get sweaty. Seeing him climbing El Capitan. So like watching a lot of documentaries, and probably the favorite movie of all time would be Departed.
The Departed in Boston.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Excuse me. The guy that the climber, he did that all without clipping in. Didn't he do that free all the way up? Is that the guy?
Yeah. So the movie is named Free Solo.
That's it.
And whenever you free solo, it means you're climbing without any kind of equipment. The only equipment that you have your climbing shoes, you got your chalk bag, and then you got your hands, and that's it. So yeah, it was a 3,000-foot peak that he climbed with no support, and it's incredible movie. Just to see him go through the process of preparation and then executing it, and just the way that they filmed it too. That was pretty incredible.
Yeah, I think he talked to Lance Armstrong, and I'd listened to Lance Armstrong's podcast, and I think he was talking to him, and I was like, man, that guy is that's ridiculous. I think he lives in Vegas. I started looking him up, and he's not that old, and I was like, wow, man, that just to be able to do that kind of stuff, what he does, I was really impressed. I know who you're talking about. He was a very interesting guy. I did not see the documentary on him, but I checked him out on Lance Armstrong's podcast probably last year sometime. Something like that. But all right, breakfast, lunch, or dinner? Which one do you like? Are you a breakfast guy, lunch guy, or dinner guy?
I think I'm more of a breakfast guy.
Really?
Yeah. Love my breakfast. I love cooking breakfast, and it's my probably usually the biggest meal of the day.
What do you like? Are you an egg guy or bagel guy? What do you do? Pancakes, waffles?
All right. So if we're talking about a meal that you can actually enjoy, then I probably have leftovers from the night before when we barbecue. We probably made some short Korean barbecue ribs the night before, or maybe some steak. And then, so for breakfast, make some eggs, some steak, some ribs, some potatoes, and have some tea, very traditional. And really enjoy the meal.
Man, that sounds good. Do you put it like in a flour tortilla or something like that, and have like a breakfast taco kind of deal, or is it just all together and just kind of, eat it from that standpoint?
Yeah, more like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, the tea, as a traditional Russian guy, is it in a samovar? How are you making the tea?
I'm sorry to disappoint you, but just a tea bag.
Oh no!
Just a tea bag, yeah. No samovar here. No samovar.
No samovar.
Yeah. I was drinking tea just a little while ago, actually. In addition to my Topo Chico, I was doing both. So I didn't have the Earl Grey, but I had kind of a green tea.
How about Craig Bell shouting out a sponsor there? Topo Chico. Nice.
Yes.
Product placement. Well done, buddy.
Right, Topo Chico. That's the official drink of At the Net podcast. We don't get paid for saying that.
I think you just got us another case.
There we go.
For free. It was awesome.
All right, now this is the big question that we ask everybody, and so you're gonna have to think about this because we know AJ and I are invited to this dinner, probably your wife, but we want to have 4 people or maybe more at this soiree party that you might be throwing at your house. Who are the people? And you can invite anybody through. You can invite the members of Tool. You can invite Danny Carey if you wanted to have him come to this dinner party. Maybe we might have some Korean ribs and all sorts of stuff. Who would you invite? Maybe Rafa or somebody like that. It can be anybody in history, anybody current, former, maybe somebody from Uzbekistan. Oleg, maybe. Who would you be invited? Who's at the dinner table?
Man, it would be a huge party, about 100 people coming over.
Wow! All
huge
right.
barbecue. That's a great question. I know you guys asked that question too, so spend some time thinking about it. I think that my list would be Kobe Bryant.
Oh,
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan. That's a good guest.
Yep. Phil Jackson.
Wow, Phil.
Yep. Albert Einstein.
Phil Jackson's first timer. Albert Einstein's not, but Phil Jackson. That's interesting. Okay, Albert Einstein. Anybody else?
Marat Safin.
Ooh. Okay.
And Maynard Keenan.
The lead singer of Tool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That is awesome. I'm so it's not the first time somebody has mentioned Joe Rogan as a dinner guest, and that damn show at least 3-4 hours a week, and it's too good.
Yeah, no, he's very good. What are we serving at this dinner? What are you serving?
Oh my God, what are we going to serve? I think that Maynard is going to bring some of the food from his farm. Mm-hmm. So I think there's going to be good salads. I think there's going to be probably some sea bass. I think there's going to be some short Korean barbecue ribs. I think we're going to make some potatoes, Russian style. I think that there's definitely going to be some dessert, definitely some tea. That dinner is probably going to be 5 to 7 hours. We're going to be sitting there. I think with Joe Rogan, Kobe Bryant.
Wow.
I think all those personalities. I think there's going to be a lot of really interesting conversations,
No kidding. Phil Jackson and Albert Einstein too. We've never had those and Marat Safin. So is he smoking cigarettes at the same time? I know he was a big smoker. It seemed like on tour he didn't. His conditioning was never the best, I don't think. And
I want Maynard to bring farm to table some of the tobacco, and Safin will enjoy it, I'm sure.
And Phil Jackson probably too. I think Phil was kind of like that, wasn't he?
Yeah, he liked cigars, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. East Coast, West Coast. Are you an East Coast guy in the United States or West Coast guy of the U.S.?
West Coast.
West Coast. Okay, so
Coast.
Southern
West
Cal
Coast.
all the way up to Washington. It's a pretty big coast. So are you a Southern Cal kind of person, or Oregon, or?
That's the one place I really want to go to. Never been to Oregon yet, so that's definitely on the list. I think right now with the pandemic going on, we were planning on going there, but that kind of dropped a little bit. But Yeah, I love going to. I have a few friends who live in California, so I love going there and enjoying the national parks, Yosemite, Joshua Tree. Yeah, it's a beautiful place. You can be on the beach 1 hour, and 2 hours later you're skiing in the mountains. So
I don't know if you guys can read that.
Yeah, Joshua Tree.
Joshua Tree, nice.
There it is.
Wow.
Nice.
Just on cue. Boy, how did you all talk
I
off?
have no idea.
Mountains or beach? Are you a mountain guy or a beach guy?
More of a mountain guy.
Okay.
Love the mountains.
Summer mountains, winter mountains, or both? Just mountains in general?
I would say more of a summer mountain. Yeah, I love going skiing. I love that stuff, but I think there's more things that you can do to explore the nature during the summer.
Yeah, no, that's nice.
But I like any time of the year. My friend Tudor and I, we just went camping a couple of weeks ago. Went
In the cold.
In the cold, yeah. So we got snow. It was, I think the coldest it was like 10 degrees Fahrenheit. So, but that's one of the things I really enjoy is being outdoors and camping, and so any kind of weather is good by me. So.
Excellent.
So your mountains, are you kind of like Colorado? Are you like Wyoming mountains, Utah mountains? There's some different kind of mountains around. So where do you like to go typically?
Probably more of a Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah, we went to Utah. Utah was beautiful. Zion was unreal. And we've been to Colorado. But yeah, I like to see a little bit more green in the mountains.
Yeah.
Hey, Vasiliy, when you were a kid in Uzbekistan, where would you go skiing? Where are the mountains that you'd go to?
So in Uzbekistan, you would go to Chimgan. That was about 2 hours away from Tashkent. So that was northeast from Tashkent.
Northeast, and this is where your uncle lived, right?
So my uncle lived in Chirchik, which was about an hour away from there. Yeah, so
I see.
Yeah, he was like the halfway point.
Gotcha.
Yeah, were those
awesome.
Were those mountains? Were they part of the Himalayas? I know that there's a lot of mountains around Nepal that isn't very far away. Was that all that same range? Big, tall mountains, 25, 30,000 feet kind of mountains?
No, it's not a part of. I'm not sure 100% if that's a part of the same range.
Okay.
But no, it's not that high.
Not that high? More like Colorado, 15, maybe?
Yep.
Yeah, somewhere in that neighborhood.
I think in Colorado you're looking at about 14,000 feet.
Right, about 14, 15.
So, yeah, somewhere, between 9 to probably 12,000 feet.
Yeah, nice. Sounds like easy. Doesn't get so high that you get altitude sickness, but just high enough to get down the slopes going, 80 miles an hour, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think 9,000 is where you really start to feel it. I think that 9,000 feet, that's kind of the breaking point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sunrise, sunset. Are you a morning guy or more of an evening guy, like a night owl?
It's a good question. I probably more of a morning guy, because I feel that's when I can get more stuff done, so.
Do you get to club early? Are you an early guy? Do you get there at 8 in the morning, that kind of thing, or more stay on the very tail end like I do? I try to.
Not by choice, but I did do a lot of 6 a.m. lessons.
Wow.
I did a bunch of 6 a.m. lessons, privates with kids before they would go to school. We used to have a class at 6 a.m. on Saturday mornings. So
after Friday night, boy, you might as well stay up, just kind of go through it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Favorite season? Are you a summer guy? Spring, fall, winter?
Spring.
Spring.
A lot of spring. Yeah.
Spring in like the Chicago area, or more spring like in Uzbekistan? What kind of spring are you looking
spring
at?
in Chicago. I mean, winter is over. It's getting warm outside. Everything is blooming. So just a lot of good energy going around.
Beautiful, yeah. Beautiful up there.
Favorite holiday?
Favorite holiday? That's a great question. Probably New Year's. I think that's the big holiday. For a lot of Eastern Europeans. That's everyone gets together, and that's the best one.
Do you all celebrate? I know probably Christmas in Uzbekistan. Is it as big a deal as it is here, like giving of gifts and all that kind of thing? Because I know some places aren't.
Well, Christmas there is I think it's on January 7th. It's not on December 25th. Yeah.
Okay.
Orthodox, right? Orthodox Christmas?
Yep. But for me here, I was born on December 25th.
Right.
So, Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get to celebrate it regardless.
Right. Do they give as many gifts in Uzbekistan, or is it the same kind of situation? I mean, it's pretty commercial here, but at the same time, I mean, there is a religious slant celebrating the birth of Jesus, but there's a lot of gift giving. So is the same thing in Uzbekistan? It's kind of the same thing, religious and gift giving?
Well, it's more, I think it was more for us, the big holiday was the New Year's.
Oh, really?
Because during Soviet Union, it wasn't so much about the religious side. So,
right, exactly.
So that was a big holiday that everyone, that's
celebrated.
where the most gifting was given.
What do you like to do in your spare time?
Okay, where do I start? Well, I like
at the beginning.
Yeah, like to golf. I like to rock climb. I like to just do a lot of different, outdoorsy things. Pretty active. So, I'm not the kind of person to sit around that much. I like to read. I like to learn. So, yeah, I don't really have days when I'm not doing much.
Right. I can't imagine. Doesn't sound like it.
Yeah.
All right. So we're heading into the third part of the third set. So I'm going to bring back the tennis just a little bit. A couple of questions here. I've got 4 or 5 questions. What's your racket of choice today? What do you like? What are you using?
Okay. So right now I'm kind of in between rackets. Trying to figure out what I want to use. I've been a Wilson Blade player for like 10 years. I tried the Clash. I played with the Clash for a little bit. And now I went back to the Blade. And now I'm hitting with the Ultra 100. So I'm trying to play around a little bit. I'm trying to set it up to where I like it. I'm getting a little bit older, getting a little bit slower. I'll take all the help I can get. So Ultra 100.
Are you customizing it in the head or the handle or both?
Not at a point yet because I've ordered a couple more to come in. So the one I've been using is just stock, and I just string it with LU power at about 48 pounds. So it's just all stock. But I'm gonna play around a little bit with those rackets next week and add a little bit of weight. I'm thinking probably a little bit in the handle and a little bit under the bumper guard because that racket is pretty stable. It's got pretty good torsional stability.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking about increasing the swing weight a little bit and increasing the weight without changing the balance.
Gotcha. Polarize it a little bit so straight up under the bumper and then some at the hand.
Yep.
No.
I'm getting something in my left ear that Iced, the Russian company, might have a sponsorship for you if you're available.
Sorry, I'm with Wilson.
Going to give it up. Well, okay.
Excellent.
Did you say the tension? Because we got your string. Did you say tension? Which tension are you at? That was I was going to follow up with that with the gut nylon poly. You already said.
High 40s generally, right?
High 40s?
Yeah, high 40s. High 40s.
Yeah. So, do you like to watch tennis on TV? Are you a tennis watcher like the tennis channel? Normally we have the tennis channel on behind, but a lot of times. Yeah. But for you, we had the At the Net logo here.
Yeah, I watch a lot of tennis at home.
Do you? Yeah. So you said your favorite player is the King, right? You like Roger?
Roger, yeah.
Okay. Do you have any like old time favorites? Is there anybody that you like to watch also too? Do you go way back? Like Nastasi, Connors, that kind of stuff, or just mostly current stuff?
Well, Tennis Channel had a lot of old school matches broadcasted over the holidays, so it was a lot of fun to watch. Steffi play when she played against Monica Salas.
Awesome,
yeah. I like Justine Hannon, like watching her play. Obviously, Pistol Pete. There's so many great players from Andre and any kind of tennis. I love to watch it.
So
I don't peek at it too much.
So what sport would you have been playing if it wasn't tennis? Let's say you were growing up. If you didn't play tennis, what would you be playing?
So I was actually I was doing track and field before I got into tennis. So I was doing track and field and soccer. So probably track and field.
Interesting. Was that were you in the track side or on the field side?
On the track side.
Okay, like distance or sprints?
Like a long sprint. So. Well, 800 meters.
Oh, 800. Okay. Yeah. I was going to say 400, but 800. So about half a mile.
800. Yeah, that was my distance that I used to do. So.
What'd you do it in? Just out of curiosity, what were you doing the 800 in? You recall?
Oh, I don't remember. No, that was a long time ago. I know I wasn't the fastest nor the slowest. I was somewhere in there.
Could you run at 800 right now? Could you go out and run at the 800 meters right now?
Yeah, I still stay pretty active.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I could walk the 800 with Rafa. I think Rafa and we could probably walk the 800. I don't know if I could run 800 meters right now. I might.
Yeah, I did a couple of marathons.
Did you really?
Yeah, Chicago Marathon, 2016, 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a little bit of running, So a part, as you guys know, there's a lot of preparation that goes along. So
yeah,
I tried to get some training in while I was coaching full time in the summer. That was really tough, but so I still go out and run here and there.
Yeah, congrats on that. That's a huge accomplishment. Are you gonna try to do it again? You're gonna try to best another one, or just that's it?
No, that's it. I retired, guys. I hung out my shoes. I did my last one and said that's it. Yeah, the training part, you have to dedicate so much time to it that, it's almost like a part-time job.
Yeah, it's pretty tough to be able to train and work, and especially at 6 a.m. if you have to go out and train at you're teaching lessons till 10 at night, so that's kind of tough to do.
Yeah, I know you guys spend a lot of time on court, so you knock out 6 to 8 hours on court, and then you're thinking about running 10 miles. That's
that's a lot.
That's not an easy task to do.
So if you wouldn't have been involved in sports like you are today, what would you be doing? Let's say that tennis didn't get you, the track and field didn't get you, but would you be doing something with your economics? What would you be really seeing yourself doing?
Yeah, I would probably be in finance.
Interesting. Yeah. What part of finance?
Probably financial advisor.
Okay.
I think there's some parallels between tennis. I think it's all about helping others get better. I think big part of coaching, and I think on that side too is you're helping people improve the quality of their life. You're giving them good advice, and you see the effects of it, right?
Sure.
They prosper and their family's doing better. So
before we get to the last question, I want Sox or Cubs? White Sox? Cubs.
Cubs.
Cubs win. Cubs win. Have you been to those kind of games? I know you said you like the Bulls and the Blackhawks. Do you go to the Cubs games?
Yeah, I've been to a few Cubs games. Yeah, and it was a lot of fun when they won in 2016.
Oh man, yeah, they were good.
We had a blast. Yeah, that was quite a run.
Nothing better than sitting at Wrigley having a beverage, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a fun experience. Yeah, it has changed a lot since the new ownership took over, and they really grew Wrigley. And you go there now, you're not going to recognize it, but they've done a good job with it. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's definitely something that you want to do when you get to Chicago.
Well, I'm gonna come up and see. I've only been to Chicago once, and just for a couple of hours, riding the train a couple of years ago. I rode the train up to New York, but I wanted to spend some time at Wrigley because I'm a huge baseball fan. So I'm going to come up. AJ and I were going to take a road trip up to see you and go to a Cubs game. How about that, right?
What's not to love about that town? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we'll go to, you said you like Lou's place, right, to get some pizza?
He's a Giordano's.
Oh, Giordano's. That's right, Giordano's. That's right. Okay, so we'll go to Giordano's, get some pizza, go to a Cubs game. How about that?
That's a deal, guys. Let's go.
All right, so here's the big question. All right, this is the culmination right here. All right, if you could wave the magic tennis wand, I know you're a tennis guy. All right, and we've had a lot of interesting answers, so you might come at this at a different standpoint. If you could wave the magic wand, what change or changes would you make to the great game, if any? You might not like it the way it is. What do you think?
Yeah. So globally, locally, nationally. Or anything that I want to say.
You're the commish. You're the big guy, and you've got the wand there, and you can just go, all right, we're going to do this now, and it's my deal.
Yeah, I think that probably we'll take the national approach. One of the things I would like to see is something done where young professionals who are entering tennis as their career would like to see them, getting better advice from mentors. I think that's something that I was really fortunate over the years to learn from a lot of great people with great experience, and they really gave me great advice along the way, and gave me a different perspective on the career and the things that I could do with tennis. Because I think we're very lucky to have tennis as our job, because often it really doesn't feel like a job, right? Because something is always a little different. Your day is never the same, whether you're coaching or stringing or, doing what you guys are doing, which is great. So I think I would like to see USTA and the other organizations step up and put together in the unified effort something that helps young coaches become better coaches, gives them a good financial advice, for the future, gives them good career advice, with something in place where coaches can go to get continuing education. Because I think one of the the drawbacks in tennis, sometimes we get so busy that we don't really have time to spend on improving ourselves. So we have something in place where mentors are going out and they're helping the young people who are going to be the future of the game, right? At a certain point, a 22-year-old who just finished playing college tennis and wants to become a coach and maybe is going to go to the USTA training center and get some mentorship over there, that person could be the president of USTA many years down the road or have some sort of influential position. So I think the better we prepare the young professionals, the better we educate them and give them really good advice. I think that the better the game is going to be down the road. Yeah. So I think investing in the future, whether it's the coaches or anyone else who works within our field.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I mean, I didn't know if you were going to say something from a technical standpoint, racket-wise, string-wise. I didn't. That's why I leave it open. I didn't know.
Yeah, I like that. Some of our guests will talk technical. Some will talk global, pro tennis, and I appreciate that you went with the teaching profession that you're so passionate about. So thank you. Thank you. And CB1, what a great interview this man was.
Yeah. Now besides the Ridgemoor Country Club in the Chicago area, where can people get in touch with you? Would you shoot an email, on Facebook? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so because Ridgemoor Country Club, it's a seasonal position. The rest of the year I work indoors at the Tennis and Fitness Center in Oak Park.
Okay.
Oak Park, Illinois.
Yep. So I just started there a few weeks ago, and it's been a lot of fun, a lot of great people there. So good energy, and it's kind of nice to get to know, different tennis hotspots in Chicago. And my email is vas.guryanov@gmail.com. vasguryanov@gmail.com. So anyone has any kind of question, guys, reach out.
Stringing wise, lesson wise, you'll be up at 6 a.m. or be there till midnight, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
long hours.
Vasiliy Guryanov, Tashkent's Uzbekistan's favored son. It's been a real pleasure.
That's it. And let's definitely book a part 2 this spring with Vasiliy Guryanov.
Yep.
And in the meantime, my friend, thank you so much. I'm very thankful to all our mutual friends who've put us in touch with you. What a great guest, and big thanks, Vasiliy.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
What a great young man you are, and best of luck to you in the next few months, and we'll be back in touch because we want to go to that Cubs game also, too.
All right, let's go. Next interview we'll do in person.
Yeah.
Oh, great idea.
Yes, very good.
The pandemic will be over.
Yes.
We'll bring our equipment. We'll do it right.
Yeah, we'll do maybe an Instagram shot also too. We could do something like that because we do that on Wednesday nights as well over on our Instagram account. So maybe we can get together at Wrigley Field and do a little or go to what is it? Is it Cubstown or something? Isn't it right there next to the Wrigley Field? Is it or Wrigley Town? What's right next to it? There's a bunch of stuff also too. We could do something there.
Yeah, we'll go to Wrigleyville. Yeah, there's
Wrigleyville.
Yeah,
that's it, right there, Wrigleyville. So, well, thank you very much, Vasiliy. We really appreciate you taking the time.
AJ, appreciate it, guys. Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Well, AJ, another good night, right?
CB1, that was a blast. What an engaging young man, and we're twice his age, but we can learn so much from him too.
Right.
And I hope our guests, our fans, did too.
Yeah. It was.
Yeah, I hope so too. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
Right.
Thanks a lot.
Good night.
Good night.
Signing off.
CB1,
you want to preview next week a little bit?
Yes, next week we have Jason Morgan. That's going to be a really interesting conversation with a gentleman that is a local guy in the Dallas area. We met through our good buddy Don Crucius, and I think it's going to be an inspiring story for many. A 4-time veteran, I think, of over in Afghanistan, maybe Iraq. He's been around, so it'll be an inspirational night and evening talking with Jason Morgan, right?
We had lunch with him on Veterans Day.
Yes.
In this past November. Amazing story about his dog too. He's a veteran. He's wounded, and he's had a couple books, and I'm about to finish his I don't know if it's his second or first book, but what a remarkable guy, and I can't wait till next week. That is the 17th, Sunday night.
Yep.
And the one after that is a good friend, Emma Doyle from Melbourne, Australia.
Yes.
That would have been during the Australian Open. But the Australian Open has changed to February. But she's a remarkable speaker, an energetic host, an MC, and a tennis professional. So we'll learn a lot from her. So the next couple of weeks, we're gonna have a blast, and we hope to see you then, our net heads.
Yeah. No, we've got a great lineup. We're trying to get one of the professionals who've played at the Australian Open around January 31st as well. So we've got, unfortunately, I'm COVID Craig, so I'm finally back and going again. AJ and I did some Instagram posts, but most people probably didn't know if you just watch us through our Facebook page here that I got hit with the bug. It did not really affect me personally that much. I'm pretty strong right now. So AJ is actually on a different site location right now. It's because of the weather in town, not because he thinks that I might be contagious, and he didn't want to stand next to me. So
you're back. We spent some time together. I think it was Wednesday.
Yeah.
And you are healthy and strong again, and you always were. It's a testament to your immune system, and I think it helped to have the O positive blood.
Yep.
And you and your wife did it right. The way you quarantined, the way you healed up. I'm impressed and proud. And if I ever get afflicted with that disease, I hope I emerge as successfully as you did.
Well, and all kidding aside, I got really lucky on this thing because I other than just some congestion and a few headaches, maybe some slight fever every once in a while, it was mostly boredom. Between laptop, I took my laptop home and I watched a couple hours of TV, hit the laptop for a couple hours of TV. It was like the movie Groundhog Day with Bill Murray, where every day was the same. It just kind of replayed over and over for 13 straight days. So I was.
Your voice was a little hoarse, but I've never seen you so excited to do just a normal Zoom call or a normal Instagram with me.
Yeah, see, I was looking for something to do on that those Wednesday nights, because there was nothing going on.
You must have been bored. I'm so glad to do it, too.
Yeah, there's only so much sports or politics, and you just Westerns. I love Westerns, so you can only do so much, and fortunately, I've got a shower in my bathroom, so I got up and got a shower every day. So it wasn't like I was really that ill. And I know that we've had a lot of people here in the U.S. and abroad that have been really sick, and I feel bad for those people, because my foray into COVID was not really anything. It was like a bad cold, really. And I told people if it would have been a couple of years ago and I thought I had a cold, I just would have come to work. I've powered through a lot worse than what my COVID experience was, but I knew this was deadly, and I wanted to stay away from people, and that I did not want to be responsible for maybe the demise of somebody, because I wouldn't want that on my conscience. But
it's particularly funny because Vasiliy was talking about how important New Year's Day has always been for him. Mm-hmm. You had COVID through Christmas, mm-hmm. New Year's, and Craig Bell's birthday.
That's right. The big three. Everything comes in threes, don't they, for some reason? But yeah, no, I'm healthy. My voice is back. I think, tonight we did remote locations because of the weather in the Dallas area. It wasn't because Adrian was worried about COVID. Craig standing right next to him.
Not at all. I was honestly, I probably could have driven to our location, but the way back, evidently the temperature is getting pretty low in about a half hour, so we thought we'd take it slow. But next week, on site, both guys. And a fantastic guest in Jason Morgan. Yep. So definitely be sure to join us. And definitely join us on Wednesday night, Instagram, or if you can't watch it live, and comment and be a part of the show, as we definitely prefer. Second choice, catch us on IGTV at the Net Podcast Instagram.
Yes.
So I think that was a fantastic night. Fantastica.
Fantastica.
And I forgot the Uzbek version, but I love that one too. Craig Bell with the sign off. Let's cue up Jimmy Campbell.
Yes, I'll say it's Hayoliy. And my Oklahoma translation of Uzbekistan, the Uzbek language is not very good, so I know I'd butcher it. I butchered a couple of things tonight. So, but anyway, all right, James Scott Campbell, here we go. We're going to cue up the old machine here, the Roadcaster, and there he is. Thanks for listening to Season 1, Episode 72 of At the Net Podcast. Join us next week as we'll be talking with military veteran of many foreign opportunities. That'd be Jason Morgan. Also, like AJ and I were talking about, join us Wednesday evenings. We're always on Instagram over there at 8 p.m. our time, which is Central Standard Time. And that's a fun night of tennis shorts is what we call it, right?
That's right. What's in Craig Bell's tennis shorts?
I always say not much.
We find out every Wednesday.
There isn't much. All right. Lastly, be sure to tell friends because we like new netheads, right? We like peeps.
That's right.
Yep. And hopefully they'll like us. And that's the tennis news as it seems to us. Good evening from Dallas, Texas, everybody. Good night. Good night, AJ.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
We'll look forward to seeing you Wednesday.